Today, I'm talking about Canadian music history. I recently sat down with actor, musician, and producer Paul Spence to talk to him about the benefits of playing in mediocre bands and its upcoming film, Diener '89, which comes out September 6th.
When you think of Canadian rock music or music in general, we have a mountain of success stories. The obvious: the Guess Who, Rush, Bare Naked Ladies, Joni Mitchell, Alanis Morissette, Tragically Hip, Arcade Fire, Bryan Adams. But as you start isolating the recent era, things start becoming different. When you look at the legends of Canadian rock, you see artists that also made money doing cover gigs, playing high school dances, or just working their way up a local scene, often with the help of radio DJs willing to take chances. But today, things are much different. In 2023, the average male Canadian musician made $17,900. Female musicians making 82% of that, and Indigenous musicians just 68% of that, all well below the poverty line. But Canadians' love of music hasn't waned. Instead, the entire industry has become monolithic and almost impossible to succeed at. Canadian radio being owned by a few corporations, streaming platforms paying pennies, the grant system struggling to compensate, and culture not insisting on paying for music. Now, this video isn't here to be a bummer. In fact, this video is my interview with Paul Spence, also known as Diener, the Governor of Givener. And it's meant to help things, to remind Canadians of the importance of, well, paying the people that have been, given her. Point out the importance of supporting local music, of going to venues and bars that hire musicians and not solely DJs and playlists.
If I could go to a bar and listen to like a mediocre to bad band trying their hardest.
Yeah.
Like, that's entertaining to me, like if the singer's not hitting all the notes, that's okay. The guitar player's flubbing half the solo, that's okay. The drummer's playing way too much hi-hat, that's okay. It doesn't matter. What would you rather hear? Some Beyonce, blasting at a dance club? Not me,
Now, keep in mind, it's great to support local venues hiring cover bands, but Canada is full of talented original musicians also trying to make it and survive in a world and economy that just 15 years ago would have been sustainable for them. After talking to Paul, I think I've come to two conclusions. One, we need to support Canadian music more. And two, all these bands, be them good or bad, be them at the amphitheater or dive bar, are important. Watching Paul, or more accurately, Diener, the Governor of Givener, crisscross Canada this summer promoting Diener '89 has been awesome. They hired local rock bands, they supported local venues and bars, and have brought together Canadians of all walks of life. One thing I like about Diener is that we all know a Diener or two. We all know that character. Whether you're rich or poor, from West Vancouver or Truro, Nova Scotia, there are many Canadians that take pride in beer, hockey, and jamming with their buds.
If you're a Canadian and you make it in any way, as far as you've got enough money from your music to make a living out of it, it's because you are half insane, because the only way to make a living in this country is to tour it. And it's from Kenora to Winnipeg is 7 hours or something? Just start some shit band, start a cover band, start a whatever band, just start playing dirty punk rock songs. It doesn't matter if you only play once a year, or if no one drinks. It doesn't have to be about partying. It's just the idea of doing something together to a greater purpose, even if that greater purpose is to record on your friend's iPhone at one point, and you have a single. I don't know anyone who would ever say, I regret starting a band with my friends. Who has ever said that? You know what I mean? Versus I regret
great quote there. You're right.
I regret being 70 and never being in a band. I'd probably say like 90% of people would say that, you know?
I remember being a younger musician, and I would be traveling and like touring, and I'd be like in US or Europe or whatever, and I would have these kind of older guys go to me and buy a whole bunch of my merch and stuff just to kind of support, and they would tell me the same thing. I was in a band and I quit. Don't quit. So on my channel, I'm going to start trying to point out positive things I see happening in Canada, things that unite us. Music is something that always does that. The struggles of Canadian musicians is real, and it's very different than before. I believe Canadians love Canadian music just as much as they used to, but those Canadian musicians we love now have far fewer ways to pay the bills. Corporate greed, media consolidation, the death of weekly arts newspapers. So when I saw the month of promo that Diener 89 has been doing across the country, I figured this is yet again a great opportunity to point out how all of us Canadian music fans need to step up and support Canadian music. Go to shows, buy merch, request artists that aren't megastars. Diener 89 shines a light on Canadian music and has helped promote Canadian music during their promo tour. But let's not forget Canadian cinema. So on September 6th, Diener 89 will be in over 200 theaters across Canada, and I'll be at one. And so should you.
I had to meddle my way out of town.
Life's too short to play safe.
Fucking got that right.
Crank her up!
Fucking give her!
That is rock and fucking roll, man!
Now, make sure to check back to this channel. I also sat down with Diener 89 actor Will Sasso recently, and we talked about the film and also Canadian rock history. Now, let me briefly digress. If you like Canadian history, please make sure to like this video, comment on it, share it, and as always, tell all your friends.